My favorite topics, biking today. It is Bike Month as proclaimed by the Rice County Board of Commissioners. That's right, May is Bike Month. Earlier this week it was Bike to School Day. May 16th through the 20th is Bike to Work Week. May 20th is Bike to Work Day. In studio is the SHIP coordinator. SHIP stands for Statewide Health Improvement Program. The Rice County Public Health Nursing Service. Josh Ramaker is with us this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
How are you today?
I am tremendous on this amazing weather day.
It is amazing weather day, and Josh is wearing his Mavericks shirt. He's a grad, right?
That's right. I'm a grad, and it's graduation weekend this weekend.
Fantastic. And I know you do a fair amount of biking too, right?
I do, absolutely. I'm a runner and a biker, and I like to use my bike as a kind of a cross trainer. So I definitely like to get out there and use the trails around Mankato and all the different roads as well.
I'm gonna guess Mankato has a lot of awesome trails.
They do have a lot of tremendous trails, some of the best in the state, and hopefully we can work with local and state governments and get Faribault to that level someday too.
And we're blessed to have some really nice trails here in Faribault as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, and hopefully we can connect those all over to the rest of the state and connect what already exists to Northfield and keep on going and give more opportunities for
Yeah, it
physical
sounds
activity.
like the plan is to have a trail that goes all the way down to the Iowa border.
Yes, yep, to connect Cannon Falls, Mankato, all the way to the Iowa border. And nobody likes to ride straight, stop, and come back. They like to ride loops and kind of do different routes that way.
All I can tell you is if you get into Iowa, you get a lot of hills.
Yeah, a lot of hills in Iowa. You want to stop
roads
at the border.
So, anyway, Faribault City Council, I know at one time, I think it was last year, was looking into putting in some bike lanes on some streets here in town.
Yep.
That did not happen, but it's probably going to happen someday.
I believe this fall, actually. I'm not sure when the exact dates or if the dates have been decided, but they will be putting in a few bike lanes. I'm not sure which street it's on, but a few bike lanes there that can get people from the trail downtown and put a little signage on it to feel safe and ride all the way downtown to those businesses.
You have bike lanes in Mankato? I'm trying to remember.
They do. They haven't had them for a long, long time, but they recently, just in the last year or so, they put bike lanes by the college campus and connecting the main routes around town. So it is nice to have that, and it makes you feel a little more safe. Typically, you should feel safe most of the time anyways, but sometimes when you're maybe riding casually or with kids, you can feel a little bit better about that when you have lanes.
Well, you know what's kind of weird is when I was a kid, it never bothered me to ride. I grew up in a small town, Spring Valley, Minnesota, a small town of about, at the time was just under 3,000 people, and you never even thought twice about riding on the streets. But now I'm very leery about doing that.
Yep, absolutely. It's funny you say Spring Valley. I grew up in Preston, which is
right
next door to Spring Valley. Absolutely.
Well, probably our biggest rival.
Probably was. But yeah, even when I was a kid, you didn't worry about that either in a small town. You just rode. But now I think we've become such a car society, and it brings some negative connotation that we don't walk as much, we don't ride bike as much. So bikers, walkers, and car drivers, we all kind of forget what that's supposed to be like to share the road together. And we get busy lives, and we kind of fall into that mode of just going to do what we're going to do. So education is a big thing with bikes and also with the automobile drivers to make sure we both understand how the rules work.
Well, you were probably like me. When I was a kid, my parents didn't take me to games and stuff. I rode my bike.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I was in Little League or doing anything before I had a car, I rode my bike for sure. You might get a ride with somebody if it was a decent ways away, but we lived in the country too, and it was 3 miles in, 3 miles out, and my brothers and I, we'd all ride in and ride back. So that's just the way it was.
Yeah, even my first, well, I shouldn't say my first job. My first job was newspaper route. I don't really count that, but I guess it's a job. My first real job in a grocery store, I'd walk to work every day. There was no getting hauled to work. I'd either walk. I'd normally walk because I didn't want my bike sitting out.
Yep, absolutely. It's when there is no other option, you find an option to do. And even nowadays, sometimes we fall so much into our car mode, we forget we can just as easily walk or ride our bike. And any of those 3 miles or under, that's a big deal to kind of go with.
I'm certainly glad that you came in studio today. Let's talk a little bit more about the program that you're involved with, the State Health Improvement Program that you oversee here for Rice County.
Absolutely, yes. SHIP is what most people would know it as, but it's a statewide health improvement program, and it's a grant program through the Minnesota Department of Health, and every county in the state has that. So Rice County, we have our grant dollars that we use here, and as far as biking goes, community healthy active living is a big part of what we want to promote and create opportunities for people that would like to use those opportunities to be active.
And that's why biking is one of the activities that you're heavily involved in.
Absolutely. It can ease on the car congestion, it can ease on that, and it can also give you active living at the same time and keep you healthy and provide more opportunities that way as well.
Good cardiovascular exercise.
Absolutely.
I was telling you that I don't know if you call this a workout regimen, but what I like to do is when I'm on my stationary bike watching television, I try to do that more often than sitting in the recliner watching television. Get on the stationary bike, and during the commercial breaks I go really fast, and I go at a normal pace during whatever activity I'm watching, whether it be a sporting event or a show.
Absolutely, and that's awesome that you do that. You're finding a way to get that into your life, and it's not always as easy as we think sometimes. As well, we'll just go ride. Well, sometimes, obviously in Minnesota, you can't just go ride, and unless you're really a big enthusiast and want to ride in the winter, which a lot of people do. It's not quite as easy, so we really have to look for those opportunities sometimes, out of season especially, to get that activity.
And I'll even do that in the summer when it's really humid or something, or the bugs are out in full force.
Absolutely, those bugs, they'll get you, so again, finding ways to not get eaten up, and different times of the day or when you can do it, it can be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. So you're sitting in the air conditioning, but you're still getting the sweat beads.
That's right.
Which is kind of what my goal is when I do that.
Absolutely. You get a good sweat going, you know something good's probably happening.
It's good for your body, isn't it, to have a good sweat?
Absolutely. We want to get that heart rate up and get her going.
I mean, when we talk about biking, we're not talking about racing. We're talking about a leisurely bike ride, right?
Absolutely. And there's all different levels, and there's no wrong level. Even the Faribault Flyers here in town, they're an organization for biking, and they have all different levels, and I believe it's every Saturday they've got different levels of bikes, so if you can go casual to the kind of the middle of the road to faster bikers, so there's all different groups all over town, and they're free, and whatever you choose is best for you, that's fine.
Do you have any contact information there with the Flyers or not?
Absolutely. If you want to get in contact with anybody from Faribault Flyers for their rides, which they have in the weekends, they have during the week also, but you can email FBOFlyers, so FBOFLYERS @gmail.com, or you can call Mark Thatcher at 612-716-8950.
Northfield is a bike group too.
Absolutely. Northfield Peddlers is their senior group up there, which is kind of run through the Northfield Senior Center, and they ride every Monday, and I believe it's at 8:30 in the morning, and you can show up, and there's large groups of seniors heading out on their rides around town and checking out the trails and getting some good activity.
Do some of our smaller communities like Lonsdale or Morristown have bike clubs?
I'm not so sure Morristown or Lonsdale do have bike clubs, but Lonsdale did just put on a tremendous bike to school on May 4th, which was bike walk to school day.
Yep.
They had a tremendous day, and it's so exciting to see stuff like that, and we got pictures and bikes all over outside. I believe they said 30% of their school students rode their bike to school that day, which is about 65 kids, and they took part in some bike education, and on their breaks they got to go outside and ride a little obstacle course and have some fun there. And then I believe a day or two before, the Lonsdale Police Department came in and taught them some safety and some educational things that you might want to have if you're going to ride your bike. It's good to not just go ride your bike, but to kind of learn a little bit about that too.
Well, and I wouldn't be the poster child of safety, to be honest, because as I told you on the phone one day, I don't wear a helmet when I bike because I never did when I was a kid. Now, I did wear a helmet when I was in the Big Brothers Big Sisters because I thought, you should probably do that with your little brother, but that's the only time I ever wore a helmet.
Sure. No, and you understand it. It's kind of become a generational thing that now the kids, they don't know any different. Even when I was growing up, people didn't really ride helmets, but now it's such a big issue with the concussions, and we just know so much more now that if you did see a kid riding without a helmet, it would look weird if he didn't have one on, because they almost all know they need to have one. And if you do need a helmet, actually Northfield Community Education and Recreation, I believe it is, you can get helmets for $10, excuse me, and then you can get a bike lock for just $8. They sell them at cost. They're not trying to make money on them. They just try to make people safe and make sure you can get into them You know, if you don't have the $30 it might cost for a helmet, you can get into a helmet there and basically just take that money and keep turning it and keep selling stuff at cost to help people out.
Yeah, it's probably not real wise of me not to do that, but I don't know, it's the freedom thing or something, I don't know.
Sure, maybe you hit your head once or twice and you just decided
Well, that might be it.
You're done.
I actually did have a few spills when I was a kid, but we won't go into that. What are some of the other observances going on? You've got a lot of things, I understand, this month.
Absolutely, there's been a tremendous amount of stuff going on, and some of it we helped organize, but a lot of it was already happening. It's just that throughout the county there's so many things that get spread out, it kind of gets missed sometimes. So my job was, I just wanted to bring it all together and let people know, look at how great of a job Rice County is doing, and then kind of do a few extra things to kind of throw on top, and each year add a few extra things, and all of a sudden you got a huge event. But kind of the biggest one coming up, even today, Carleton College is having a bike carnival from 11 to 1, and you can go check out cool bike gear and different types of bikes, bike maintenance tips and tune-ups, and bike commuter guidance, and that's at Carleton College from 11 to 1 today. But probably the biggest thing coming up is Bike to Work Week, which is the 16th through the 20th of May. So on the 16th, starting at 6:30 in the morning, you can stop at the coffee shop in the Chocolate Haven and get a free small coffee with any purchase of any baked good. So that's kind of fun. Everybody looks for an excuse to go there all the time.
Oh.
And then the Milltown Cycles, which is right next door to them, will have 20% off bike tune-ups also. So typically, I think a tune-up like $50. So you get 20% off. That's one less excuse you might have that you don't want to ride, that your bike isn't safe. But you can head in there and they'll take care of you on that and get a kind of a fun kickoff to Bike to Work Week.
Yeah, sort of defeats your purpose in terms of the working off your calories if you put them all back in, though, right?
That's right, that's right. I guess you got to ride to, from, and all over all day to bike those calories off.
But I was telling you, my typical ride consists of heading west on the trail. I throw the bike in the back of my pickup. I drive to the Dairy Queen. Then I get on my bike, do my ride, come back, and before I go home, after I put the bike in the back of the truck, I go inside the EQ and get myself, well, maybe a strawberry sundae or something like that.
Absolutely. A little bit of balance in life is nice. You got to reward yourself every now and then. So
yeah, it always really tastes good.
Absolutely. Especially the hotter it gets, it's really nice.
Yeah, after being on that trail, it really tastes good. So biking is a very healthy exercise. In fact, we had an orthopedic surgeon sitting in the very chair you're sitting in telling us it's probably the best exercise you can do for your joints.
Absolutely.
Your knees and
yeah, and like I said, I'm really a runner, and then I try to bike to cross train. And what's the reasoning is just to try to take some of that stress off your legs, and it's really repetitive to do something different. You know, once a week or twice a week, it's really, really good for you, and to utilize different muscles too is excellent.
Yeah, as some people might think, well, you don't get a lot of arm workout that way, but my stationary goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Arms and legs, which is one other reason why I like using my stationary bike.
There you go. It's one where it's a great way to find what works for you. It's not going to be the same for everybody. You know, it's not going to be the same speed. It's not going to be the same bike more than likely. Just find what works for you and try to improve.
You know, another thing I really love about biking is it's a family activity. The little kids can go, the seniors can go, you know, if you stay at a certain pace.
Absolutely. It's something that mostly anybody can do, and you can kind of pick and choose where you want to do it. You could do it in the city. You could do it at Riverbend Nature Center, who all month is having a bike challenge out there. So if you go ride their 10 miles worth of trails, they'll get you a little prize. Kids, they can ride to Buckham Library this month on, I forget which day it is, but if you can ride your bike there, you'll get a little prize also. So you can, like I said, you can ride off trails. You can ride gravel roads, which is becoming a big thing now. You can ride on your roads or trails. You can kind of ride all over the place.
And this off-riding with the fat tires is kind of huge right now, isn't it?
Yeah, fat tire biking, it's getting to be a bigger thing, and especially it's kind of started, I think, in the winter, because it's tougher to ride with the smaller tires. So people will ride in the winter, really the diehard people, and even Riverbend Nature Center, I believe, in the winter has a fat tire bike race.
Yes, they do.
Out there, and so it's really growing, and especially in this area. It's a lot of enthusiasts, and they're excited about it. So it's fun to see different routes.
And you know about the BMX track here in Faribault.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So maybe you don't ride all over the place, but you ride at the track. But more than likely, they're riding to and from that track anyways. So just one more avenue.
And it didn't have anything like that when I was a kid. Awesome course over there, the BMX track.
Absolutely. Those are great, and I believe Canyon River off-road cycling and trails, they're attempting to get a pump track is what it's called, where it's probably 6 feet wide and you kind of go around it. It's kind of like going through ski moguls. They're attempting to raise a little bit of money for that, and they're going to travel it around Rice County for free and just set it up and allow kids to use it. You don't really pedal when you go into it. You basically use your momentum, and you kind of pump with your arms and go through it, kind of like a little racetrack. So that'll be exciting when that happens. I think they're still raising a little bit of money for that. And if you want to support them, actually on Bike to Work Day, which is the 20th of May, the last day of Bike to Work Week, a little bit of celebration. There will be a Bike to Happy Hour at F-Town Brewing from 3 to 6, and it'll be $1 off beers, and then they'll support Crocked is what it's called, so Cannon River Off-Road Cycling and Trails, where they'll donate $1 per beer purchased back to Crocked.
Lots of things going on, so folks, take advantage of this. If you've never biked or you haven't biked since you were a kid, you'll be surprised. It'll come right back to you, right?
Absolutely. You'll get everything back that you put in.
It's a muscle memory is an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's you'll remember how good it felt and how good you felt maybe when you were a kid, and you kind of feel like a kid a little bit.
Yeah, get to bike all over town, which we can do here in Faribault. I don't know why I go west. It just seems to be I mean, I've been on other trails in town, but typically I'll go west on the trail.
Sure.
Mainly because it's flat.
Absolutely. That can be alluring sometimes, and that's a great place to start. And if people want to challenge themselves a little bit more, you can deviate from that.
Well, you and I grew up down, well, Preston's more in the bluff country than Spring Valley is. But Spring Valley is called Spring Valley because it is, right? A valley.
Absolutely. And yeah, we grew up in that. That was tough biking those hills.
I grew up on the north side of town. We were on the edge of town, north side. The park was on the far southern edge of town. So when I had Little League, I'd bike to Little League practice every day, going down a hill, up a hill, each way.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm starting to feel or sound like my parents. That I feel like at this point in my life, I must have went uphill both ways when I went to that Little League, and it feels like it was a lot tougher.
And I remember, because when I was really little, I couldn't make it up the hill. I'd have to stop part way and then walk the bike. So it was really cool when you accomplished getting to the top of the hill. It was a mark in your, growth.
Absolutely. You probably almost feel no different than as an adult now. If you haven't biked a lot and you start to bike, yeah, don't expect that you'll get out there and feel amazing and crush it right away. But yeah, you get into it just like anything, and you'll start to see growth, and you'll start to see a lot more endurance, and you'll start to feel a lot better.
Well, and I don't know that I took in all the scenery when I was a kid. That's what I love about biking now.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I run or bike too, it's the same thing. I'm kind of crazy. I'm one of the few who doesn't run with music, so I like to take it all in too and just enjoy everything and enjoy all the beautiful scenery around me.
I mentioned that too, being in radio, you have noise all the time, so I want to get away from that a little bit. That's the one negative of the West Trail there. There's semis flying on the Highway 60 all the time,
Yep, absolutely. There's a lot of traffic close to you there, I guess, but everything else is pretty darn nice.
But when you're on that trail, it's you and whoever else is on the trail. You don't have to worry about getting smucked by a semi.
That's true. That's a big bonus.
Yeah, I would say so. So again, folks, we'd encourage you to get involved. If you don't know if you'd enjoy biking, I know they have some rentals up at Riverbend Nature Center.
Yep, they do. That was actually a combination of SHIP and Alina Health Systems combined with Riverbend Nature Center last year, and we ended up buying, I believe it's 16 mountain bikes, so you can use those on the trails out there. And like I said, I think they have 10 miles of trails.
Yeah,
you can rent the bikes. I believe they're very inexpensive. I want to say $10 or $15 a piece if you wanted to rent them. You can rent the whole fleet if you wanted to. If a worksite wanted to go out there and use them all, you could do that. They've got helmets for you. They got the whole works, and you can go out there and take care of them. And Riverbend, I know it's a beautiful place, so if you haven't been there, get out there and enjoy it.
It's one of my favorite places. I call it one of Faribault's hidden treasures.
Absolutely, it is, and it's run really great out there, and we love partnering with them.
I mean, there's days when I just go out there and just take it all in and, do a little alone time.
Absolutely,
Alone with your thoughts.
Yep.
Get away from the noise, listen to the birds.
Absolutely, it is great. And one thing too, we do have bike bingo also happening through some worksite wellness that we work on through SHIP, and we have 5 local businesses here that are taking part in that. And if you wanted any of those sheets, you could contact me at the county. It's J Ramaker, so JRAMAKER at co.rice.mn.us, and we can get you those bike bingo cards. And you might think it's going to be really difficult, but it's very easy. A few things on there would just be road today, you changed a bike tire, you told somebody about bike bingo, you put air in your tires. It's very simple, and it's just kind of one really easy thing to get out there and just motivate yourself.
That's one of the other little drawbacks. You brought that up, the air in your tires. Fewer places are providing that.
Yeah, that is true. Fewer places are providing it, but Riverbend, that's funny you mentioned that, because they do have a bike fix-it station out there. So you can prop your bike up, you can work on it a little bit, it's got the tools right on there, and it's got air right in there for free also. So you can use it anytime right at Riverbend. And also at White Sands Trailhead, last year SHIP funded a fix-it station to go out there as well. So there'd be free air, free tools, and an area to prop your bike up so you don't have to work on it on the ground.
Yeah, well, hopefully you don't have to work on it at all, but
absolutely.
You know, from time to time a chain slips or something.
Yep, or even if you just wanted to clean it off, if it was muddy or something, you can prop it up and kind of work at it at around shoulder height. It's a lot nicer to be able to do that.
I can't think of any drawbacks to biking, can you?
There's very few. The only drawback might be if you're not following rules. Just for everybody to remember to follow the rules, and a bike is no different than a car. You should be following the rules exactly the same as a car on the road.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I do see a fair number of people that don't stop at stop signs when they're on their bikes.
Absolutely. It can be a negative connotation sometimes to be a bike advocate, because we push so hard for a lot of things, and it takes tax dollars and stuff to fund these things. And every time I always think every time somebody blows through a stop sign or does something they shouldn't do, and somebody sees that, maybe doesn't support trails or biking as much, that does a lot of negative to the sport. So just remember to try to obey as much as you can and do just like a car, and that can be a lot for helping people understand how important biking is.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have Paul Panonsky on here pretty soon from the Faribault Park and Rec Department, but you were saying before we hit the airwaves that it sounds like, now this is not etched in stone, but it sounds like the city is going to get some funding so they can complete that trail over at Alexander Park.
Yeah, we're hoping we can, and Paul Panonsky, he's the guy who works with the state, and he's tremendous, and he's a huge advocate and a huge value for Rice County and Faribault. But next year, hopefully during the bonding year with the state, that we can get that funding and complete that trail all the way to Northfield, and complete that trail all the way up, which Northfield did just a few days ago, approve some funding to move their trail another, I believe it's 1.8 miles south in Northfield from the existing trail, and then go through another 0.6 or 0.8 miles through Dundas on their city streets. So they're making progress, and we're building towards that gap being filled in between Northfield and Faribault, so we can ride all the way there.
Josh Ramaker's with us. He's the SHIP coordinator with Rice County Public Health Nursing Service. The SHIP stands for Statewide Health Improvement Programs. You deal in all kinds of health events, not just biking.
Absolutely. It's just one that we deal in. We deal in the healthcare setting. We deal in all the community setting of healthy eating, active living. We deal in the work site, and we deal in schools. So we're pretty widespread, but the main goal is just to create sustainable policy system and environmental changes that we can just have a positive impact on health.
I think I read recently where there's some places that are doing nap times in the workplace.
I haven't promoted those yet, but I can see exactly why they would, because when you can be well rested and feel good about it, you're going to be more productive in the workplace. And when you can do that, it's all about saving money and making money for a business. So if it's working, they're going to do it.
Now, I had to chuckle a little bit when I saw it, I have to be honest. Although I do remember my dad growing up as a kid, he'd come home for noon lunch, he'd take a nap, and then go back to work.
Absolutely. Just a little quick 10-20 minute nap.
A little cat nap.
It can give you a lot of energy and get you going, that's for sure.
It always gave him grief about it. And he says, when you get to be my age, which I'm at about now, you'll understand.
Right.
So, sorry, Dad. Again, Bike Month is in May. It's not only proclaimed by the Rice County Board of Commissioners, but both the cities did it as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Faribault and Lonsdale both also proclaimed it to be Bike Month, and then Rice County hopefully will be here on the 10th. So that's exciting. It's just one more avenue that we can promote it to all of our citizens and say how important it is and how much we want to support people in physical activity.
So do you know how we being Rice County compares to other counties in terms of bike trail miles, that sort of thing? And do we know how many bikes per capita we have in our county?
I don't know that information. I do know that we have solid trails. I know that we could do better, and there's a lot more room for improvement. I don't know the bike per capita, excuse me.
Sure.
But always advocating, and if it's something that's important to you, to be aware. And again, what we always get back to, when you advocate for something, you can't advocate silently. It doesn't mean go yell at somebody, but writing emails and writing letters and just being at city council meetings or being anywhere like that, people see you and they want to know that that's important to you. So if it is, make sure you advocate for it.
You do see a lot of bikes on virtually every college campus, but I notice up at the University of Minnesota, at least the Minneapolis campus, these little mopeds are kind of big right now.
Sure. And it's kind of the same idea. Obviously, you're not getting the physical activity, but you're cutting down on traffic. So to cut down on traffic, sometimes people think it's how do we get congestion to loosen up here? Well, if you ride a bike, that takes cars off the road, and you get physical activity. So it kills two birds with one stone.
Yep. And when I was in Europe, boy, we're almost out of time. When I was in Europe, I'm trying to think, was it Italy or Germany? One of those two countries. You know, the town squares are too small to handle all kinds of automotive traffic. So a lot of people, when they have activities going on in the city, they'll leave their vehicle at their home and they'll bike into town for that activity. Bikes all over the place.
Absolutely, and I guess that's one positive thing here in this country is we have a lot of space. So it typically isn't as big a deal until you get into the bigger cities and you start to see that as an issue. So that's where you start to see in Minneapolis, it's a much bigger deal to bike, and you can get there just as quick, if not faster sometimes.
All right, thanks, Josh. Appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Josh Ramaker, our guest today on AM Minnesota. Have yourselves a terrific weekend, everyone. I'm Gordy Kostfeld, and that's today's AM Minnesota.